So we thank you for taking the time to join us today. In today's session, we will be focusing on e-invoicing and VAT compliance for real estate industry in the UAE, what it means, why it is becoming increasingly important, and how your business can effectively prepare for this transition. As part of today's webinar, we will begin with a recap of UAE invoicing regulations and their relevance to real estate. We will cover VAT fundamentals specific to real estate transactions, followed by a deeper dive into key segments of the industry: landlords, property owners, property management companies, and developers. To begin with, allow me to briefly introduce our organization, PACT Software. We are a trusted provider of business software solutions with over 28 years of experience helping organizations streamline operations, strengthen compliance, and enhance overall efficiency. We have been present in the UAE since 2002 with active offices in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Sharjah. We are proud to serve over 12,000 customers globally, including 5,000 in the UAE, supported by a dedicated on-ground team of 60 professionals, ensuring total strong local expertise. To give you a quick overview of our ERP application, PACT offers a fully customizable solution that can be deployed both on-premise and on cloud. Our system is designated to streamline key business solutions functions, including financial management, asset management, property management, sales management, and many more modules listed above. It provides flexibility, scalability, and real-time insights to help organizations improve efficiency and maintain full compliance. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker and managing partner of PACT Software, Mr. Ajay Singh, who brings over 28 years of extensive experience within ERP consulting and compliance framework. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Ajay Singh to please take this session forward.
Okay, what is e-invoicing? It's been talk of the town these days. E-invoicing is a change from a normal PDF to structured XML auto posting onto it. Now, it used to be a quarterly what we used to submit our VAT returns. Now it would be real time, and it is helping UAE to align on a global platform, and it is easy for a payment and a reduced cost solution. Let me take you to the clock. What is the deadline for each and every type of organization? Now it's been divided into 3 different categories. One is first phase includes 50 million and above turnover of the company. So what you need to do for those kind of companies? You need to appoint an ASP on before 30th October 2026, and you must go live on 1st Jan 2027, which is mandatory. Missing those deadline would cost you penalty, which again case-to-case basis. It has been revised, but standards what we know is 5,000 per month penalty, and missing each invoices would cost you around 2,500 per case. So per invoice wise amount changes onto it. Now let's go. I was talking about 5-corner model. Now what exactly this means? Now when I say 5-corner model, the data is being transformed from one application to another, and it goes and hits onto the FTA. So it goes through 4 different corners, and it hits to the FTA or Ministry of Finance portal onto it. Now, what exactly the change happened in the e-invoicing? Now, most of the fields which you see in an invoice has been categorized in 6 different types of funnels and all. Now, if you talk about invoice detail, now the black color and red color, you will differentiating it. What exactly a difference in the color? Now, black colors are already covered in our VAT implementation in 2018. Now, something which is in red is the new fields which has to be added in the application. What are those documents which gets impacted? Now, document types cover tax invoice, credit note, a debit note, or self-billing credit note, whatever you can call it as. It's again, people are calling it in different names. You can just term them the way you want, and self-billing and commercial invoice and summary tax invoices. So these are your different types of documents which are covered in the e-invoicing part. Now going to critical compliance, 14 days issuance rule. Like, what do I mean by that? Let's say I have raised an invoice today, and within 14 days it has to be submitted to the portal with all your approvals, internal organization approvals, as well as ASP approval has to be done onto it. And then you have valid PEPPOL ID is required, and only FTA accredited ASP is permitted. Then going forward, how do I evaluate? Now, this is the question what many people are asking. How do I evaluate ASP? Now, ASP evaluation, again, you need to check for PEPPOL certification, MF accreditation session, ERP integration, whether it is already integrated with that particular ERP, or if you are using PACT revenue, then you don't need to worry about it. We'll take care. UA data residency, which is again a mandatory, which we follow the same shit laws. Security certification. Now these are the security ISO 2007 and 22301 are mandatory to be done, and ASP providing 100 free invoices a year is also a mandatory. Now, how do I appoint and select an ASP? You need to just log into your Emertax portal and just see if you have a TRN. If not, then get registered and then review the MOP ASP list in the Ministry of Finance. You will see ASP list would be listed onto it. Select over there and navigate and confirm the appointment of a particular ASP. Once the completion is done, ASP will do onboarding, and ASP will take care of your sandboxing and go live. So, and then if you go with a ASP, which your ERP does not an ASP, then the challenge is what you need to look at. You need to have a middleware API, okay, and other ASPs who are uploading the data. Now these days, I've been hearing people are looking out for a third-party middleware application, or most of the companies, they are providing you Excel upload option. Now, Excel upload option, what kind of problems will happen? Data mismatch, compliance, what is been uploaded on the portal and what is been entered in your ERP, there is an accountability gap, and again, you need to pay for ERP, ASP, and other consulting cost. It would increase your cost on an ASP level. The day-to-day headaches are also there, and the cost level impact is also available. Benefits you will have if you go with a PACT as an ASP. Now, as you are existing client, now if you are our existing client, we can take care of it and we'll take it. If you are not, then you need to go with a ERP application. We'll have built-in ERP with zero integration. We'll take care of your integration with an API. Everything will be taken care. One system, one record. The moment you post it, uploaded it, it gets result immediately within fraction of second. If there is any client FTA compliance update, now you know when VAT came, there were a lot of compliance update changes happen very frequently. You need to communicate with an ASP and an ERP separate. Here we will take care of everything. Single vendor ownership, no ununified data need to be uploaded. Now end to end, it will be PACT revenue control, and everything will be taken. The low cost and one platform takes care of all. Now these are the advantages once you go with a PACT as an ASP. Now getting back to the real estate. Now this is again, everybody was looking out for this session. Real estate management has different landscape, like residential, commercial, property management, and owners. Now these are the 4 different criteria of a types of business idea. Exactly. Now there might be a landlord who has only his residential and is renting it to the tenant for a residential purpose. So the rent VAT is exempted, only service charge has been charged onto it. So B2C, no TRN for the tenant, it can be managed. Only the services what is being charging need to be submitting a tax invoice onto it. Commercial, yes, everything B2B and B2C has to be charged onto a rent 5% and services also charge 5%. Now, property management company. What does this mean? The companies which are managing somebody's property, they will charge management fees to the landlords, and issuance of invoices to the landlord can be B2B and B2C. All this can be uploaded onto it. Now, same way, if the owner has his own real estate, he's managing everything by himself, he can take care of that as well. Now, what are the real estate VAT foundations? What exactly happens and how exactly it will go? Now, if I'm going on a transaction commercial for the rent or a sale, I need to have a tax invoice. Again, 5% standard treatment. Yes, we need to upload this into the portal directly from the system. Residential rent long term, it's an exempted, and then commercial invoice has to be raised. If they don't have a TRN, you can send a PDF, and if they have a PEPPOL ID, you can directly upload into the system. So everything has to be updated onto E-Invoicing portal. Now, when we talk about landlord, now there are case studies what I have taken scenarios. Multiple scenarios happens on the landlord level. Let's say residential B2C, there is no TRN. Landlord is managing that. So PDS is acceptable, and then rent, VAT is exempted. Exempted category has to be sent to the portal. Service charges, if there is any charges, it has to be standard category of yes, and E-invoicing, no need to upload it, but still they need to have a data to be archived for 7 years. Okay, an invoice date, the supply date should invoice date in a PDC rule also is applied. Now, I'll explain you about a PDC rule, how exactly it takes care and what should be the invoice period. Now, in the Ijari, must have a invoice period standard. Now, we cannot have Ijari something else and system different. So we need to match in the Ijari system and application exactly the same. Now, if I am a landlord and I am renting it to the commercial, now it follows all these categories like rent, service charges. It has to be mandatorily uploaded onto E-Invoicing portal. Message level service, again, it will send to both parties, for the customer tenant as well as the landlord, buyer benefit, turnover records, input value. And what is a flag? Again, standard B2B flag has to be done. Both rent and service charges, full e-invoice has to be uploaded onto ASP portal. Now, some of the short-term rental companies are there. Like say, I have some units which I have given onto the short-term rental or a holiday home. Now, duration less than 6 months, VAT is standard category. A tenant type tourist, short-term stay, B2C, all has to be invoiced. Tax invoice about 10K has to be done. And again, e-invoice or ASP. Now, if it is B2C, then I can give him a PDF is acceptable. Tourist, a full refund is there. So full tax invoice need to be generated. A common mistake which many people will do is treating them as an exempted, which is wrong. You should not do this. Tourist, you need to have a tax needed onto it. Now, correct 5% for all short term has to be done. Less than 6 months also has to be taken care onto it. Now, mixed use properties, now you will say, I have some units in the building which has commercial and some has parking and some has different types of apartments. So what do I need to do? Residential, commercial, parking, or some advertising signboards, treating as a unit onto it, additional service. Those are all B2B, it has to be done, and exempted only B2C for an apartment. And service charges, all service charges has to be done separately apart from the rent, and parking has to be mentioned separately in the tax invoice. Unit level. Now in our application, we do have unit level VAT tagging in the system, and it is mandatory, where most of the application miss out that. And again, Ijari per contract per unit has to be done mandatorily. All the e-invoices to B2B should be submitted on the portal. Now these are a criteria. Again, B2C is again PDC, PDF is acceptable. No need to upload onto the. So these are the 4 different case study scenarios I've taken, which talks about every type of business what we're talking about. Now, vertical like property management, what is the agent responsibility and what is the principal? Now, let's say model is property management model is agent. Agent is invoicing the invoice, renting it out, invoice raised by the landlord, and VAT hits on to the landlord. Now, agent, let's say I'm a property management company, I'm managing on behalf of it. If I'm renting the commercial, then the landlord will raise an invoice and VAT has to be done onto it. Now, e-invoicing has to be done by PMC agent. Property management as an agent has to upload onto it. Now, all this has to be managed on the principal model. Let's say I am the owner and I am renting on my own properties. In that case, I have to submit and typically directly I have to make into my system and upload it onto the system. And PMC as a landlord owner, no separate fees is charged onto it management. He is making his own rent and not applicable, and PMC directly uploads into the invoicing. So these are some options which need to be done. Now, for example, here PMC to landlord without the scenarios I have taken here 3. PMC to landlord with TRN number. So he is making a service invoice that I'm managing your property. So service invoice has been done, which is again service code 9972 has to be uploaded onto the FTA portal, and then standard 5% always taxable, and tax invoice will be generated with a code number 380 and it has to be uploaded onto the PEPPOL. Now, property management companies to landlord without TRN, B2C. So there is individual no TRN, VAT is still 5%. Invoice can be sent to PDF as a tax invoice. No need of uploading onto e-invoice onto it. Now, self-billing. Now, what is self-billing? Let's say a small landlord or a contractor, he is not able to give you an invoice, then your self-billing document has been done. It is an out of scope. Vendor is not registered onto it, but still you need to enter it into the system and submit it as a PMC submits as an ASP, through an ASP portal. So all this are taken care in the property management scenarios. Now we'll go into the property developer. Now, again, as you know, we have different kinds of clients. So we'll talk about property developer as well. 3-year role is first for new residential properties, which is 0 rated, full VAT recovery. After 3 years, it is exempted. So this is all a standard process. Now, if we talk about off-plan installment residential sale within 3 years, it's a 0 rated. Now, tax invoices, yes, we need to, a full recovery is there and it have to be uploaded B2B. Same way, if off-plan sale installment, each construction milestone, every construction a milestone, you are raising an invoice, which is again a 0 rated. Completed residential first sale within 3 years completion, again 0 rated. Completed residential second supplies after first supply or a 3 years window, exempted. Commercial invoice has to be raised and it is not recoverable, and it has to be uploaded onto the portal. Commercial unit sale, whether office, shop, warehouses, this follows standard tax invoice, full recovery, and then commercial unit, office rental standard, a tax invoice is generated and you have a full recovery onto it. Now, bare land sale, undeveloped plot exempted, a commercial invoice, no impact on VAT, and it has to be uploaded onto the portal. Now, construction service related received contractor invoice to developers, yes, you need to have 5% tax onto it, and it can be uh, collected as an input VAT as to Z supplies you can get from the application. Again, there are some consultant, foreign consultant who's doing some consulting on a particular construction project. You need to pass an entry through self-billing, and then you need to link it to Z supply. So yes, self-bill has to be uploaded. Now these are different scenarios. In all cases, the tax category has been highlighted over here, and which is taxable and which is not taxable, and what type of document you need to enter in your ERP application. It has been highlighted. Now all this system our application has onto it, so you don't need to worry about it. Let's go into the real estate unique challenges for PDC rule. Now when we rent, okay, we rent, let's say a rent period is from January to December. Now first invoice is generated on what? I'm generating an invoice on 1st January 2027, but my check is on 31st March 2027. Let's assume a PDC client has given me on 31st, he has not given me on 1st January. So you need to book a tax invoice on 1st January, irrelevant to tax a PDC, whatever you see. So you must keep PDC and tax invoice separate, whether you received or not, but tax invoice has to be generated on the first day of the contract starting period. Same goes if the rent starts from February, 1st February, you need to update onto it. It should not be start of the period, not PDC date. Services, start of the period, not PDC date, which is very mandatorily done onto it. So this is the PDC rule, which I mentioned earlier. I will explain to you. This has to be done. Now service charges, what we are invoicing. Now what are those service charges? Like generally you have a security charges, cleaning charges. Let's say if it is a mall, then you have a different type of insurance premium, all different kinds of charges what you charge. All that has to be charged with a lump sum. And if you're charging chiller and all, you need to charge based on the unit. Taxation would be done, and it is exempted. Insurance premium recovery is exempted. Reserve refund is also exempted. So these are all the scenarios for the service charges onto it. Now what is IJARI critical compliance, what we need to do it. Now tenancy start date and tenancy end date. So the invoice period and IJARI should match. It cannot be mismatched. So system validates before it's uploading onto the ERP things onto it. So which is again very unique. Application level validation will be happening in our application, as well as when we are uploading it, uploading level is also available onto it. And then tenant name, buyer name, property address, all these details must be same in an application and IJARI as well as on FTA portal. Whether it is a free zone property, you will have tax category, invoice type has to be commercial, and then if it is e-invoices, yes, you need to submit. Partial, it is again, let's say if you have a rent and then other services in a single document, partial splitting of the invoice, which again PACT does that, which is available in our system. And then common ERP do not have a designated zone flag mentioned at the property level or a unit level or a detail, what do you call property dimension level. So these are the few unique challenges what you will be facing it. And then the complete scenarios what we discussed in all the three verticals are, it's like a complete, like this goes to the landlords, this is the property management, then this is my developer. So what changes you need to do into the system in order to, now there might be many of our clients who are using the software. Okay, what we need to realign it in a current scenario. Now we need to tag all our masters, whether it is a unit or a tenant or anything. So all the information related to master has to be tagged. Unit master need to be updated based on the mainland, free zone, designated zone, track 3 years for supply window for developers. And then for tenant, whether it is B2B, now we need to categorize all our tenant is B2C or B2B. And then you have a mandatory all corporate tenants, PEPPOL ID has to be entered, and then your VAT registration detail has to be entered. PDC's checks need to be date and stored separately by tenant itself, and then invoice configuration, like a single invoice has rent as well as other service charges had to be split, and then print AE fields has to be mapped over there. Service charges, each component has to be updated on the invoice level, which will again send it through print AE XML auto generation format from the system. Same goes with the credit note. Now, some reason I'm making a credit note, early termination kind of things you will have to it. Now, talking about challenges, how to overcome them. As I said, challenge is mixed, exempted and taxable in one invoice. We need to split them by unit and exempted on a particular. So system PACT has a capability of doing that. And then challenge is Ijari date mismatch and a invoice, which again linked with an Ijari reference. We need to check this. Again, we need to have an API developed if you want to validate automatically by the system. It can be done. PDC date versus invoice taxable point date. This again will be challenged onto it. And then challenge number 3 is first 3 years supply window for developers, which is again a challenge. Landlord to B2C versus B2B, how are you handling it? And then self-billing, how are you handling? So these are a couple of challenges what we need to see and solve it based on this. So PACT has been doing this efficiently and will take care from there. Now, why PACT Revenue ERP? So it's again built in for landlords. We have automatically, we already have a built-in landlord application, developer and e-invoicing solution and management companies in one single platform. Now, e-invoice is generated from the system. It will send it as an XML via this, and then message level will come to both parties and VAT auto-populated, and audit PACT is linked automatically onto it. So real-time message level, VAT mapping, 7 audit, all this is already on the loop of a PACT. A complete post-invoice journey is been sent to you, and it takes care in the system from the single button onto it. Now, again, I may not compare it with any particular product. Okay, I would just give generalized built-in for the real estate in the UAE model. Most of our clients know why we are better than others. So these are a few points which not many ERP applications are taking care. Again, anything you are missing it out, you'll have end up in getting penalties and all. So be careful about each and every application what you're choosing onto it. Now, what 90 days action plan would do, basically we'll have to assess the plan and select the taxable authority, choose and configure the integrate ASPs, doing the test environment month 2. Third would be test and go live scenario. So it takes around 90 days for us. Now people think it's just an invoice, you need to enter it and system will do it. No, at the back end, there are a lot of configuration which required to be tested by multiple authorities. Now it has to go through a PEPPOL and then it has to go to an FTA. So the message should go from ERP to ASP, ASP to PEPPOL, PEPPOL to FTA. So for 5 levels, as I said, has to be message monitored onto it. Talking about, there are a couple of questions which have been asked by our current clients, which need to be answered before. I'm sure you might be also having some questions, but I have picked up few questions which I received earlier from our existing clients. Do B2C residential tenant invoice count towards a 50 million threshold? Now, what does this question means? Now, I have units which I am renting to B2C as well as B2B. Now, some people will say B2C is not included in my turnover. No, it is included in the turnover. You cannot exclude. Overall, when you talk about the turnover of the company, you don't talk about turnover of only B2B. You talk about turnover of B2C as well as B2B. So I hope this is clear with you. Which transaction are explicitly excluded in e-invoicing? B2C transactions are excluded, and the people who doesn't have TRN are excluded onto it. Can we voluntarily start early before the mandatory deadline? Yes, you can start, and it's strongly recommended to do that. Okay. What are the 6 categories that apply on UAE real estate? Now, as you know, VAT categories, what we talk about: standard, exempted, zero rated, out of scope, reverse charge, and short-term lease. So these are the 6 types of categories, tax categories, which has been used in the real estate. Again, it is not in the real estate you can specifically say, it is for all the businesses, it's the same. Only for short-term lease is little extra for holiday home or short-term rental kind of businesses. Now, do I need to issue a sale e-invoice for residential rent if VAT is exempted? Again, not necessary to issue if it is B2C, not necessary, no need to worry about it. So if it is B2B, yes, you need to issue a VAT invoice for that as well. How do I handle a mixed use of a building? Now, residential and commercial. PACT has a capability in our application. You can design, select an option whether this property is residential or a commercial based on that. Now, some commercial property has a mixed use case onto it. So you can choose by unit which commercial tenant and which unit are residential. So you can choose at the tenant level as well as at the unit level as well. So both is been managed in PACT easily. Now, what are the correct invoice treatment for rent-free period? Now, rent-free period, it has to be 0. You have to invoice it with a 0 value, and then it will be uploaded into the e-invoicing. How security deposit is being treated? Now, security is not a standard invoice. It is treated as a normal accounting. It is not part of the e-invoicing part of it. How offline invoices structured under e-invoicing? As I said, every invoice based on the structure goes via PEPPOL international standards. Okay, and it has to be followed in SPA. Details of SPA has to be entered, and then it will be waived off onto it. Now, can developer claim input VAT and construction 0 rated? Yes, he can do that. Okay, you need to submit the details of a complete. He has to upload the details as well. How do post-dated checks affect invoice dates? Invoice date would start based on the contract start period. PDCs and invoice date does not impact anything directly over there. Why must service charge invoices separate line item in PIN-DATE? Now, for example, in an invoice, I am renting it out, rent amount is there and service charges are there. How do I break up onto it? So I need to split into multiple line. And now some people are asking, do we need to make a separate invoice? Yes, you can do that. Capability in the application should be there. But PACT has both the scenarios. It can show it in the single as well as it can split into 2 invoices separately.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Ajay. Good afternoon.
Hi,
How are you?
Tushar. I'm fine.
Yeah, I have one quick question. We have the group structure like 5 to 6 entities together.
Okay.
As you mentioned earlier, we need to take TRN for PEPPOL ID for each company, right?
Yes, it has to be.
So that my question is, when the data will be flown into the system to the PEPPOL ID, through the PEPPOL ID to the FTA system, so how it will be integrated in our group tax return? Because we are not filing an individual tax return.
There are, as you said, maybe all your companies are 50 million and above or not?
4 of them are, yes. We have 6.
So in that case, what will happen? They should have a PEPPOL ID. Anything what you are invoicing it as an intercompany, it will go and hit into that PEPPOL ID. Whether again, it will go into an RCM. You have to upload it into the system that these are intercompany transaction if you are renting it to a particular property or invoicing it to a particular company. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Just one thing regarding the Ijari or Tautik, how it is connecting to that invoices. Like invoice, for example, let's take one example, January to December, my contract period, starting from 1st January to 31st December. And normally, how we will do is like the Ijari or Tautik, we will issue first after getting the first installment.
Okay.
But as per your session or as per the law, we are telling to issue the tax invoice within 15 days, within 14 days from the date of the contract start date.
See, what do I mean?
If I didn't,
what do I mean? I did not mean contract date. I said the day you post a tax invoice in the system, okay, from the date of tax invoice, you have posted in the system. Let's say you posted today. Today is 18th. Okay, you have updated in the system. Within 14 days, it has to be uploaded into FTA portal. It cannot be lasting more than 14 days. If you have not entered in the system, it is fine.
No, I'm not asking that thing, sir. Like invoice is okay. For example, I generated the invoice on 1st January. What about the Tautik or Ijari number, which we should upload in the tax field, no?
See, you are uploading, when you are uploading the details onto the FTA portal, okay, what generally they will do, they will check Ijari dates, starting date. I can do it within 20 days or 25 days. I can go and register with an Ijari within 20 days. There's no problem at all, okay? But the dates and amounts and period has to match.
Okay. Now I need to make the reference number of Tautik.
When you upload, they'll ask you to upload the document. It has to match both. That's it.
Okay. One more thing, sir. Like if any tenant is coming for the late renewals, okay, like the contract is started from January to December, and the tenant is coming maybe the February for the renewal of with the checks. You are telling we should make the tax invoice in 1st January itself, right?
Of course, no, sir. See, when I'm not saying 1st January, the day you are making a tax, see, when you are receiving the check, contract start period, it has to be renewed from that particular period. He has not invoiced it. You are invoicing when you are late invoice, you have to charge on to him late. That's why you have to very particularly tell tenant that you have to renew it immediately within 30 days. Otherwise, you start charging on penalty. They cannot take their own time like what they used to do before. You will
I'm not asking about the tenant thing, sir. My concern is I should invoice within 14 days of the service start period, right?
Yes, of course. You need to do it whether you collect it or not.
Yeah, whether it's coming or not, I should make the tax invoice for the whole year.
Yes.
If the contract is for 1 year, then I should make it within 14 days.
Even the whole year, or if some tenants say I will make 4 checks, you can do it for 4 checks also. It's not mandatory that you have to make. Now, some real estate companies, they are charging upfront, so that is fine for them. Okay.